All right, well, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order the December 10th, 2025 EHC monthly meeting. I know everybody received certainly the agenda and the minutes from the November meeting. Are there any edits, objections, additions, subtractions? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Public comments, seeing there are none, we'll move on. This is a time where we use a junior EAC. So Melissa, I'll let you start that.
Okay. I guess, who would like to go first with your monthly updates? Go
I
ahead.
can go. I got in contact with the AP Environmental Science teacher. Should be interested in doing something to help out. We're not too sure. I don't know if you'd like me to pass anything on to her or specific, but she's happy that I'm doing this, and I'm be happy to help out with whatever. So if we have any ideas, I don't necessarily know anything specific, but I could obviously pass that on to her.
And you can help us with ideas too.
Yes, I would love to. But I don't know if you all have anything specific in mind. You've been here longer, obviously.
So I saw a news piece about NA students doing plantings on the property.
Yes.
So I don't know what group that was, but it would be lovely to connect with whoever that is. Is that the environmental sciences teacher?
I'm not too sure. I could ask her. I know I'm in a botany group there, and we're planning to do some more planting on campus as well
Oh,
sometime in the
good.
spring. So
Yeah,
It's great.
love to kind of hear more about what you're all doing. And
yes, we're getting the budgeting and the approval for that all finalized, but we're hoping to do some native plants, some like rain absorption stuff, because we don't have great drainage, and there's a lot of concrete obviously on campus because there's the big student parking lot.
Wonderful. Well, great.
And then you weren't here last month. Did you have a chance to do the brainstorm activity to figure out what you want your project to be based around?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I'm kind of going in between doing some like education for like I don't know. My school does like school newspapers and school announcements, so I think it would be neat to do some research into maybe like I'm interested in the water quality. I've been looking at, I don't know if this is specifically in McCandless like township property, but right by La Roche, that big like watershed. I'd be interested in how that affects like water quality going in, going out of that. Or just North Park, obviously. And maybe go on their school newspaper, their school morning announcements, like a video announcement thing, and just talking about, the importance of water quality and how the EAC is working for that. Because I don't think most kids in my school even know that we have an environmental council. So I think that would be.
Think also about the stream that goes through Wall Park.
Yes.
Over at La Roche, that's going to be mostly stormwater retention ponds and stuff like
Okay.
that. Not because you're at the very, very, very top of a stream there.
Yeah.
And you're a little more into an established stream if you get into Wall Park there, or the little stream that comes into Potter Park, but that's pretty intermittent too.
Okay. That'd be neat. And I can talk with the environmental science teacher as well, because we did like water quality testing activities, but we didn't actually go out into the field just because the school wouldn't approve like a field trip for that. So she just had to collect all the data herself and share it. So I think it would be neat to collect that data myself. So I would ask her about methodology for that.
And could you just write these words down, because maybe it means something, maybe you hear these things, that we are going to join Birdtown, PA.
Mhm.
And so that will be sort of all encompassing with water quality, with nature hikes, with education. I don't know if that's something that, because eventually we'll partner with the schools. I mean, that's the piece of the puzzle that we miss as a committee, that we're hoping can get us better access into schools, because there's some type of collaboration between the Audubon Society and your type of club. So
Yeah.
just knowing that McCandless is going to join that group. And then also, the gold standard sustainability. I don't know if you guys use the word sustainability. I mean, you probably do, and maybe it means something and maybe it doesn't mean something, but maybe at some point that's something we can speak to your group on.
Yeah.
And what it is and why we did it and why we are gold standard. And what it means in reality. So maybe just keep an eye out for those two words, maybe just have those sort of in your back pocket and, maybe you bring those up to your instructor.
Yeah, but we definitely talk about all of that in the environmental science classes when we're learning about it, but as just a general student population, not really. And the environmental science program is kind of small. Like I know I took the AP test, and I was one of like maybe 50 kids who were in the room taking the environmental science test. So it's not that many people. So I don't think that's something that's covered in like
Yeah.
the required curriculum.
We try for one. If we can get one person to recycle, if we can get one person to plant a tree, if we can get one person to carry on, then that's the best we can do. So
Yeah.
we'll take any number.
Second idea I also had, which is a bit of a departure from the water quality. School uses a lot of like single-use polystyrene, like for all of the lunch stuff is all done in single-use plastics, single-use polystyrene. It's like we have a big industrial dishwasher, it takes up like an entire room. And I know a lot of the other schools use like reusable trays. I also know that we have those trays, but we're still using the polystyrene ones. So I don't know how much of an impact we'd be able to have on that, but like I would love to be able to move away from all of the polystyrene because I know that's really bad.
Those are both really nice ideas.
Great idea.
We can talk outside of this meeting a little bit
Yes.
more too. Happy to chat with you about them.
Yes,
See
I'd love to.
facility there. Yeah, great ideas. Thank you. Jenna, do you have any updates to share this month?
Yeah, so actually just this evening, I had a phone call regarding, so I mentioned last meeting that I'd like to work with the sidewalks and increasing connectivity specifically to North Park. And I don't know if you guys know, there's a stretch of road from like the bottom of Saratoga Drive, which like leads into my neighborhood, all along Ingomar past like North Park Church that comes all the way through towards Devlin and then all the way through towards the park. So it's about like a 1 mile stretch of road almost exactly that just encompasses like that entire neighborhood back there. And if we could get a sidewalk from the end of that road just to North Park, so like 1 mile of sidewalk, it would increase connectivity, especially like during warm months for my entire neighborhood. So that's the area that I was looking at getting that done in. And so I had a call tonight with my council person who's Mr. Wall, and we had a good conversation, and I'm going to send him the proposal, and he's planning to, on the next council meeting, read that in so that we can start to get the grant process approved for that stretch of sidewalk, and he's going to sponsor that too through council. So we're hoping to get that grant as soon as he reads that in at the next meeting.
It's really exciting.
Great.
Wonderful.
I live up in that area as well, and the sidewalks are pretty sparse, and I would love to go on a walk because I could walk down to
Yeah.
North Park. It would
Right.
be
Right.
difficult, but the roads are so windy and so hilly, it's
Yeah.
really unsafe up there.
Mhm.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Very good.
Any other updates or questions for Jenna and Nadia right now? Okay. In that case,
Okay, well, we are going to turn this over then to Penn State. We'll let them in. What I'll do is I will, if it's okay, I'll just introduce everybody. I'll just do a quick intro, everybody's name.
All of them,
Yes. Yep. And is Peter up there too?
No.
still a few minutes early. You told me
Yeah,
before to
I
go.
did. Hello, Brandy.
Hello, how are all of you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for having us tonight.
So we had Peter in early and we told him we were gonna let everybody in at 7:45 because we had some business to conduct, but one of our items of business got bumped because it wasn't voted on by council, so we are a little bit early. Can we let Peter know?
Yeah, I will text him right now.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
No problem. Hope you guys are all staying warm, getting ready for the holidays.
Well, we made it here without any accidents. I think we're getting sleet out there right now. We're not
Oh, really?
Penn State sleet, but we're Western Pennsylvania sleet.
No, I understand. Yeah, I did my undergrad in Johnstown at Pitt Johnstown. So Western PA it can get a little sketchy in the winter. Up there in the Crescent Summit area near where I was pretty bad, but
That's a pretty treacherous area.
yeah, yeah. But we were supposed to get maybe 3 inches of snow in State College today, and it really just flurried. We kind of dodged it, so I was grateful for that.
When I went to Penn State in the early, mid seventies, one winter we had 120 inches of snow, and we had -20 air temperatures and -60 with the wind chill.
And I
That was
bet you
when
they
they were.
didn't cancel class at all, right?
No, there's a linear accelerator underneath the middle of campus that you can get from one end to the other if you know it's there.
You know, I was just talking with someone the other day that when I came here for graduate school in the early 2000s, they never canceled class due to weather. That was just unheard of. And now we had a cancellation, a delay last week on Tuesday for just a little bit of snow. I was really surprised. I'm glad they do it because plenty of our staff and faculty and even some of our students commute a fair distance to get to campus. And so, we don't need people on the roads unnecessarily, but that has dramatically changed in the 20 years that I have been part of Penn State. It's interesting. We know we don't have to wait for Peter.
Okay. Okay, great.
I texted him. He'll be here whenever he can, but thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to share the work that Isabel, Mackenzie, and Ellie have been doing for you this semester. They've been working really hard, and I'm really proud of the work that they've done. And so, yeah, we have a presentation prepared. We will also be delivering to you a full inventory report and the associated electronic files related to the emissions calculations and things like that. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. So if I could, I'd like to take the liberty of just doing a quick introduction around the room.
Please, we would love
And
it.
there's plenty of room for, for questions and everything. So we've left a lot of room on the agenda. So Bernie Lynch is a committee member, EAC committee member. Ken Allshouse is also a committee member. Melissa Winston is the current vice chair of the committee. Let me get this right. So Jenna Parker is our student representative, and Nadia Yusko is another student representative.
Fantastic.
Yeah, how about that? And we have Joanna Cameron, who's on.
I was gonna say, don't forget me.
No. She's on Zoom. And then we have Nick Giorgetti, who is a council member and who's a liaison for the EAC.
Perfect. Well, it
That
is
is our team.
That's a great team. I love that you have student representation on your EAC. That's really cool. Yeah. No, our students are all going to introduce themselves, but you guys all know me, and I'm Brady Robinson. I'm one of the co-directors of the LCAP program. I teach in the Energy and Sustainability Policy program here at Penn State. I'll let Kelly and Peter quickly introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Kelly Volkemer. I'm an adjunct instructor for the local climate action program.
Kelly is our technical wizard. She really undersold herself there on that. Kelly knows as much as there is to know about the ins and outs of completing the inventory work.
She sure does. And I'm Peter Buck. It's really great to see you all. I'm one of the co-directors of the local climate action program and on the faculty in the Department of Energy and Mineral Engineering here. And yeah, just thank you guys so much for having us. I think without further ado.
Well, one further ado, I see that Chris Nape has joined us. So Chris is our.
Oh, yeah, he has.
There he is. Chris is our contact at the Department of Environmental Protection's Energy Programs Office. Chris's office is responsible for the sponsorship of the program that makes it possible for us to use ICLEI's ClearPath software to provide the inventory calculations. And Chris has the the exciting job of asking the utility companies to provide data to us every year. So we appreciate everything he does, and we're glad he can join us tonight.
Sure. Yep. Thanks. I mean, she mostly just introduced me, so I don't need to have much more to say.
Well, I'm sorry, Chris. I started talking because I wasn't sure since you were off camera and muted if maybe you were somewhere where you couldn't talk and jump.
No, I'm not, but that's
Okay.
fine.
It's nice to see you.
And Chris, we really appreciate you making this program available to communities, and we appreciate being one of those communities. But thank you for that. I'm glad that continues on.
Sure. You guys could also consider doing one of the other programs that we have when you're done with this to try to help implement the plan.
All right. Now, without further ado, students, you can take it away.
Awesome, thank you. I'll share my screen and then we can get started.
Okay. Hello, thank you for allowing us to join your Environmental Advisory Board Committee meeting today to present our 2024 community-wide greenhouse gas inventories for McCandless Township.
Hi, my name is Isabel Rubino and I'm a fourth-year student at Penn State studying civil engineering.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm a fourth year at Penn State studying earth science and policy with a concentration in the climate.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ellie Brown, and I'm a third-year student at Penn State, majoring in geography and political science.
The Local Climate Action Program is a course where we have worked on collecting these greenhouse gas inventories we will present, alongside points of contact with the Energy Programs Office, ICLEI's ClearPath, and our partners right here in McCandless. Chris Naif is with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and is our primary point of contact with the Energy Programs Office. The Energy Programs Office generously supports LCAP by paying for the ICLEI's ClearPath software licenses and technical assistance time that each community needs to complete the inventory. Chris also supports LCAP through recruitment of new communities into the program. Additionally, Chris submits the utility data requests to the electric and natural gas utility companies on our behalf each fall. Brandy Robinson and Peter Buck co-direct LCAP, along with Kelly Volkemer, and they teach the 2 3-credit courses that comprise the program. Brandy leads the fall course, Peter leads the spring, and Kelly provides technical assistance and student support throughout. Melanie Areola provides technical assistance and support with ICLEI's ClearPath software program we're using to construct and display your inventories. Also, it's important for me to note that she's reviewed the inventories for accuracy before it is released. And finally, we couldn't do this without the work of our partners right here in McCandless. Jeff Petro, Chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee, Melissa Winston, Vice President of the Environmental Advisory Committee, and John Bojarski, Public Information Officer for McCandless Township. We are grateful for these partnerships so that this information can be presented tonight. So before we begin our inventory data, first I'll discuss why this data is important. So as you can see, every year since 1980, it's been warmer than average for the 20th century, and the trend is rising steeply and strongly correlating with atmospheric CO2 concentrations. We understand that carbon dioxide is the primary greenhouse gas that is warming the atmosphere, and more CO2 is put into the atmosphere and it acts as a blanket. This allows the atmosphere to hold more of the sun's radiation. While greenhouse gases occur naturally, the extra CO2 we emitted through human activities causes the atmosphere to retain increasingly more heat. And this makes it imperative to act, which is why tonight we get to present McCandless's greenhouse gas inventories. The black dots on the map show roughly where McCandless Township is located. When we compare the historical baseline from 1971 to 2000s with the late century predictions, projections for 2070 to 2099, we see major changes in both heat and precipitation. By the end of the century, McCandless is predicted to experience 87 to 112 days each year with temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 3+ months of a minimum of 90-degree heat, which is a dramatic increase from the past. In addition, the number of very heavy precipitation days is expected to increase, with projections showing 12 to 16 such days per year. These changes indicate a warmer and wetter climate locally, with more frequently extreme heat and intense rainfall events. So with that in mind, we will now walk through the process we will use to account for those emissions and introduce the ICLEI's ClearPath platform we used to inventory the greenhouse gas data we are presenting tonight.
So as Mackenzie mentioned, we created a greenhouse gas inventory report to quantify the emissions that McCandless produces through their activities that contribute to these activities that you may see in McCandless. So we have a few guiding principles that I'm going to walk you through. First of all, our report is very thorough and transparent in the greenhouse gases and what causes them. This helps us to be consistent down the road as we address these activities and look for methods to reduce these emissions. Next, our report is complete. So we gathered data from McCandless's stationary energy, waste and wastewater, and transportation sectors, and any data that we did not directly receive, we estimated. So our report most closely reflects the emissions generated in McCandless. And finally, our report is accurate. So we've had multiple eyes look over our report, both internally and externally, to provide some quality control and ensure that our report reflects McCandless's emissions as closely as possible. Moving on, the next thing we considered is the type of greenhouse gases that are produced within McCandless. So there are three main greenhouse gases that you may see from various activities, and those are carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. And each of these gases has a different heating potential and how they warm the atmosphere, meaning that currently by themselves they're not on the same scale where they can be measured together, and they have to be assigned a factor or a global warming potential number that can be used to help put these emissions in the same scale where they can be quantified. And so, for example, methane has a global warming potential of 27, which means that 1 pound of methane would heat the atmosphere 27 times more than 1 pound of carbon dioxide. And once these factors are determined, then we can put these emissions in a similar scale. And so what we use to calculate these emissions are metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, or MTCO2e. And this is the unit that you'll see through our report and in the presentation today to explain the emission breakdown. And the next thing that we looked at in our report is the scope of emissions. So greenhouse gases can be classified in 3 different scopes. Scope 1 includes emissions from activities within McCandless's boundaries. So that would include stationary fuel combustion, in-boundary transportation, in-boundary waste and wastewater, industrial processes, and agriculture, forestry, and other land use. Scope 2 emissions are emissions from the electric grid. And then we have Scope 3 emissions, which are activities outside of McCandless's boundary that produces emissions. And in our report, we only use Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. So here we have a pie chart breaking down the 2024 McCandless inventory results. So McCandless generated in 2024 a little over 174,000 MTCO2e, and the largest sectors that contributed to these emissions were residential energy, commercial energy, and transportation. So as we move through this presentation, we'll get into a little bit of how we broke down these numbers and the data we received to help gather the information for this report. So first of all, we are starting with energy sector. So we have residential and commercial energy as the largest contributors. And this includes any energy that powers the residential and commercial buildings within McCandless. And so the fuel sources used for this energy includes electricity, natural gas, heat pumps, fuel oil, and propane. And these fuels were used in activities such as heating, cooling, and air conditioning systems, electric and gas stoves, lighting, and additional appliances. And for the data that we used for electricity, we used data from First Energy and Duquesne Lighting. For natural gas, we used Energy Information Administration's energy estimates for their residential and commercial sectors. And then we also used data from the U.S. Census Bureau to help estimate McCandless's population and the distribution of some of the fuel sources throughout McCandless's boundaries. And then one data issue I just wanted to bring to attention was that when Duquesne Lighting provided their electricity data, they provided their data for all the zip codes within McCandless, but that included the locations including McCandless and also out of McCandless's boundaries. So we used the U.S. Census Bureau's population data to help downscale this and only include the electricity data within McCandless's boundaries. Then we have industrial energy. So for emission sources from the industrial standpoint, we have electricity and natural gas. And again, we used First Energy and Duquesne Lighting data for electricity. And then for natural gas, we also used the Energy Information Administration's industrial sector energy consumption estimates. And then we also used the EPA facility level information on greenhouse gases tool, or their flight tool. And this was very helpful in determining if there were any industrial facilities within McCandless's boundaries that would contribute to industrial emissions. And then the same data issue with Duquesne Lighting's data, we had to downscale using McCandless's population data.
So another sector inventoried was transportation. In total, McCandless's transportation emissions were 93,058 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. The emission sources consisted of on-road, waterborne transportation, and off-road. And additionally, the energy consumption was diesel, biodiesel, natural gas, gasoline, electricity, and liquefied petroleum gas. The data used for our on-road and off-road were from two different sources. For on-road, which is personal transportation and trucks, aka road freight, which is what we call it when we inventory, it was collected with PennDOT from the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. And off-road data was collected through the use of the 2020 U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's National Emissions Inventory Data Retrieval Tool. We also did downscaling, which was used for population to localize the data from McCandless, and the geography was downscaled for railways and waterways in order to collect McCandless's specific data for this sector. The first image on the top shows a map of McCandless when collecting road emission data, and the bottom one shows the categories of the emissions inventoried for transportation.
Okay, so let's move on to the solid waste and wastewater emissions, which measures the pollution created every time we throw something away or when water flows down our drains. While this category only makes about 2% of our total emissions, it's still significant. To put it into perspective, it's roughly equivalent to burning 593,000 gallons of gasoline, or the emissions from driving an average car around the country 25,000 times. Most of these emissions include things like waste sent to landfill, septic tanks, and the biological process used to treat wastewater. A lot of our landfill waste is transported outside McCandless, so the emissions from decomposition happen elsewhere. Therefore, what we do count here are the emissions generated from producing the waste and treating it locally. Next is agriculture, forestry, and other land use, or AFOLU. This category measures emissions from land use changes, like when forests are cleared for grassland or new development. In McCandless, AFOLU accounts for less than 1% of total emissions, so it's also a very small contributor. Even though the number is small, forests play a critical role in keeping our air clean and balancing carbon in the atmosphere. That's why it's important to continue protecting them to help maintain a healthier environment for everyone in the community. So now that we've looked at different sources of emissions within McCandless, it's helpful to see how our community stacks up compared to others. To do this, we can look at Doylestown Township, a previous LCAP community partner with similar population and regional characteristics, and then compare both to the broader state of Pennsylvania. When we look at emissions, McCandless is pretty similar to Doylestown, but what really stands out is our per capita emissions. Each person in McCandless produces about 6.1 tons of carbon dioxide per year, compared to 8.9 tons per person in Doylestown. Zooming out to the state level, Pennsylvania's per capita emissions are much higher, around 19.5 tons per person. And that's because state numbers include industrial emissions and electricity production, which we don't have on a large scale in McCandless. Overall, this comparison shows that McCandless is doing well in terms of emissions per person, and it helps us identify areas like residential energy, commercial energy, and transportation, where we can focus efforts to make an even bigger impact. So looking ahead to the spring semester, this is really where our work shifts from analysis to action. Our main focus will be collaborating with the township with the help of Peter Buck to develop a climate action plan. Depending on McCandless's needs, this plan can take many different forms. For example, it could support initiatives like renewing the township's gold certification through Sustainable Pennsylvania's municipal certification program or guide other local sustainability priorities. The goal is to create a plan that's flexible, practical, and tailored to what the community needs most. So that concludes our presentation on McCandless Township's greenhouse gas emissions inventory. I want to thank you all again for inviting us to your meeting, and I will now open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful. It was wonderful.
So I have a question. So do you think the reason we fared so well, I mean, you stated we lack the industrial component in our landmass, but is it because we are so forested when we have the North Park and a lot of green, or is it the combination of both? Did anyone do some analysis as to why we look so good there, stacked up to, say, Doylestown, which I think is, you said it's comparable, but isn't it closer to the city? But I'm just curious, like analytically, what you think we can do to both improve and because compared to what you showed us, we look pretty darn good. So, but how do we make the case for doing better? And what would you believe we could do to do that?
First of all, thank you for your question. I'm actually from the Doylestown area, so I can speak a little bit about that. With Doylestown, I know that a lot of people who live there, they work in Philly, and so there's a lot more, I guess, driving when it comes to that for those emissions. Also, I would say with the forest analysis, we noticed that McCandless doesn't really have that much, there's not a lot of forests that are being cut down. So, part of that. So that is like one thing that I think is a great thing that we should continue. We should continue to keep protecting those forests and stuff. If anyone else wants to add anything.
I'll just add one thing because this often comes up and is not always clear. So with the forestry component that Ellie talked about here, the only way that factors into the inventory numbers is for change in what's there. So in other words, your inventory isn't you're not getting like credit for offsetting carbon from the forests that have been there and continue to be there, right? It would only be, if you added a bunch of new forested land, that would go in. And if you take forested land away, that gets accounted as well. But kind of what's there as sort of your baseline, that's not considered to be like an additional carbon sink. And so that's not pulling your per capita number down right now. I think that it is one of the lower ones that we see, like Doylestown. I think that I think part of that has to do with, what makes Pennsylvania so high is our industrial sector and all of our electricity production, and those are things that are not happening within your jurisdictional boundary. And so your emissions per capita are lower because it's really mostly due to, you know, passenger vehicles, pass-through traffic for freight, and, you know, energy consumption in the buildings of the community.
So Brandy, if somebody proposed to do a data center in McCandless, how would that impact our numbers then?
Badly.
Hmm.
I mean,
When you do the numbers on a per capita basis, have you also looked at them doing it on a an area basis? Meaning, you know, that when you had that very high number for the state of Pennsylvania on a per capita, there's an awful lot of area. So if you did it on the amount of emissions per square mile or whatever unit, I would be interested in seeing how those things compare.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know, honestly, I've never seen it done by per square mile, or, you know, an aerial unit like that. But yeah, that would certainly change the calculus a bit. But the energy intensive data centers, you know, that if there was one that was built within McCandless's jurisdiction, the energy consumption at that facility would go in this inventory. And so that would, you know, spike things considerably. And that's certainly something that we're looking at throughout the state. You know, there are, what is it, Peter? I think 60
Yeah.
data centers proposed throughout Pennsylvania right now.
Yeah, right now, there are about 60 that are in some phase. So 20-ish of them have been built, I believe. And then there are 27 that are in the queue, and they range in size from pretty small, just a a few handfuls of megawatts of power draw, up to these really massive data centers. Amazon Web Services has one, a data center complex proposed at the Talon campus that's across from the Susquehanna Nuclear Power Plant. And they have an agreement that they know they're going to go up to 480 megawatts in a phased way, and eventually up to 960 megawatts. And just for comparison, Penn State has a solar power purchase agreement with LightSource for 70 megawatts of installed capacity. And that gives Penn State's entire campus system 25% of its purchased electricity. So some of these data centers dwarf the Penn State system in terms of their energy demand.
So last question, and then I'll open it. I know you only do it for the footprint of McCandless, but I have concerns about what is west of us, with, say, prevailing winds and and I know you're but you know, I look at the valley, that is due west of us, the river valley. So, you know, the old mill towns, in addition to the chemical and the plastic plants, and the western winds that we get. So if you have a heavy chemical load in your air quality that's coming into your region, is there any impact to, you know, the measurements you're taking if there is I think generally I know the answer is no, but I'm just curious how you would evaluate that or factor it into your considerations.
Yeah, that's a good question. And obviously, in many ways, that's a more tangible, real concern, you know, in terms of environmental quality for your community. And so I understand that. It's not, it's related but separate from what we're doing. So certainly the emissions and the activities that cause the emissions that we are looking at in your greenhouse gas inventory do have localized impacts, but we tend to look at them on a bigger scale of the atmosphere mixing and not really adhering to these political boundaries. The students did do some analysis that we could share with you in more detail earlier in the semester related to some of these air quality concerns looking at and around the communities that we were working in, specifically looking for environmental justice concerns, right? Looking at where is it that we put our power plants to begin with? Where do our highways go? Because all of those things have, air quality concerns. So it doesn't factor into these numbers that you are seeing in this emissions inventory, but it is, obviously a concern.
Yeah.
So I noticed you used some 2020 numbers for transportation, and that was during shutdown, lockdown. If you did this same inventory in 2 years and used 2025, would everybody's numbers go up?
That's a good question. I might ask Kelly to jump in on this. That NEI 2020 data retrieval tool, I don't know if the most recent update was in 2020 and therefore might be 2019 data. I don't know which time period. Sometimes these things are labeled with the date they came out. Sometimes they're labeled with the date of the data they include. And I don't know off the top of my head. Kelly, I can't see you on my screen.
I'm here. Unfortunately, I can't speak to that without looking closely to get you the correct answer. It is the 2020 version, but like Brandy said, it could be the 2019 data. Just iterations of those things.
But the data that it's analyzing, like that we have analyzed.
We use that for downscaling.
I'm trying to look this up on the fly, which is probably not the best.
It's too technical for this, and it doesn't matter at this point. I'm just thinking at some point, if we say, well, we want to be platinum, and our numbers, are this now, and it's 6.19 or whatever that was per resident, and all of a sudden, just because of the year that we took it, we're going to go up, even if we go down, even if more people buy hybrid and electric, or the fleet of the Department of Public Works goes hybrid or something like that, we might still, because of demographics and because of what happened.
I would say that your off-road transportation emissions are a very small part of your transportation emissions overall. Far and away, it's the vehicle miles on roads. So your passenger cars and your freight vehicles. And that is the biggest chunk, and that's your PennDOT data, and it's more recent. So although your concern is very valid, and it very well could be that there is a slight increase depending on the year or a decrease, overall, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact, but we can absolutely get you the answer to that question if you'd like.
Yeah, the PennDOT data is from 2024 for all of your on-road transportation. That's a good detail.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to build upon that. I was going to ask for a little bit more information in general about the transportation data. So the majority of that is coming from just vehicles that are driving through McCandless, which means there's really nothing we could do to improve upon that. Is that correct?
It's not just vehicles that are driving through McCandless. It's also things that are happening entirely within McCandless. Okay. So there is some control over that.
Which data is used to determine what's happening within the township? I guess, as far as
all of that data comes from PennDOT. All of the vehicle miles traveled data comes from PennDOT at the county level. And then we import it into ArcGIS to isolate just your township boundary.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't think it was immediately, in a couple instances with communities we've worked with, Lower Macungie Township, Sealands Grove, they've had a very large interstate or state highway that cuts through their community, and they're like, we have no control over the 11:15 traffic passing through here. And so we've actually been able to extract that to show them the difference of, okay, here's what your vehicle miles are, with that included and without, recognizing that there's very little jurisdictional control over that.
Are you taking into account like idling at red lights and things like that? Is that accounted for at all, or not for part of this?
Because we have more than our fair share of red lights.
No, the PennDOT data is just vehicle counts.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Thank you.
So can they also confirm the mileage of the vehicles traveling, or just like how are they calculating the number of how far each vehicle is going? Is that something they're doing, or is it just how many vehicles there are?
It counts on specific segments that they aggregate. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious how accurate it is for the mileage of each car traveling.
Do you mean like for fuel efficiency of the different cars?
Yeah, like that as well.
Okay, so we use state defaults. The PennDOT data gives us the breakdown of like passenger vehicles versus freight vehicles. And then from that point, you use state default registration to be able to further break down those two large categories. So if there's a specific number of passenger vehicles versus motorcycles versus electric cars with registration data at the state level, that's what's used to refine that on-road number.
Okay, thanks.
I had a quick question about just like you mentioned downscaling the data. Was that all the downscaling done like specific to just filtering McCandless's data out, or did some of it have to do with like adjusting numbers to like fit the average population?
Do you mean for a specific sector? I'm sorry. Can you?
Yeah, just specifically, like, how did the downscaling of the data work? Was it just like taking taking all of that aggregate data and then removing McCandless's data and just analyzing that, or was there other things that went into that?
So every different sector has a different way to downscale. So your electricity data, for example, one of the electricity providers gave us jurisdictional boundary electricity. It did not need downscaled. Another one gave it for all of the zip codes that touch McCandless. And then we had to look at populations of the different zip codes versus McCandless's population to be able to downscale that. Commercial and industrial uses job counts that are within the different boundaries. And again, like transportation uses different things like the PennDOT data to downscale with ArcGIS, or it can use population to downscale some of those off-road categories. So the downscaling is really different depending on which category you're looking at.
McCandless is a township of 30,000 people, and 30,000 where we are obviously looks different than what 30,000 is in Doylestown and 30,000 in central PA, which would probably be, as Ken mentioned, it would be geographically way different to get 30,000 people in one area. And it would probably span over several townships to get that number. But do we, based on Western Pennsylvania, because I think that's a pretty good example, do we look good compared to people in our area? Or do we have, two questions, do we have anything like it's glaring to you that's an inefficiency that says, well, this is your biggest growth area. This is where you can grow. Again, we are fixed. I'm not sure we can find a room for another 1,000 people in this community. And we are large. North Park is 80% of North Park is in, that's not going anywhere. And we actually have a tree preservation and expansion program going on in our community. So we expect to, to reduce this number through that. But where do we lack? Where are we? Where is our biggest growth area?
So I love that you guys are thinking about that already. That's fantastic. I think that your inventory, there was nothing glaring or surprising to me about it. We often see, I mean, most of the communities that we work with, many of the communities we work with anyway, are similar in composition and size to you all. And it's pretty common. You can go into it guessing that building energy and transportation are going to be your two biggest pieces of emissions pie, right? Those are, it's not the solid waste, it's not the wastewater, it's not the AFOLU, it's buildings and transport. And so as you think about what you want to do to try to reduce emissions overall, and what sort of leverage that you have as a township to pull on those numbers, you're thinking about, mobility that isn't just us all being in a car by ourselves all the time, right? Encouraging people to not make single occupancy trips for things. You're thinking about energy efficiency and you're thinking about renewable energy. I would say those are sort of our three big buckets that have the potential for levers to pull your emissions curve down. And part of what we are going to, work on in the spring is looking at different scenarios for what that looks like. So if you had 2% of the households every year adopt, a residential rooftop array that offset their own use, what does that look like from now until 2050? How far down does that pull your curve? What happens as more people adopt electric cars? You have to account for the fact that, yes, then your gasoline goes down, electricity is going to go up a bit. What's going to happen with the carbon intensity of the grid and all of those sorts of pieces? But as you start to think about what you want to, work on, and you all will be working with Peter, really closely in the spring on this, I think building energy and transportation are going to be, that's where your emissions reduction opportunities really are.
And Jeff, if I can, it was you, Jeff, right, who was speaking?
Yeah.
So one of the things that is really great about having this team of students, who kudos again to you guys for your presentation, which was so clear, and has generated such good questions. You don't get good questions like this unless you've given a thorough inventory delivery. Is that they can do comparisons to similar communities in similar climate types, similar makeup, similar size, and investigate some of what they have, say, in an inventory, if they've done an inventory, or how they're trying to take action in different policy areas, public education programs, incentive programs, changes in zoning. I mean, there are a lot of different ways that we could do that. And part of it, so Ellie had said, well, we could make you a plan, and we can make you a plan, obviously, with you, but we'll want to know what you really want in it. And so what I would say is, over the next couple of months, and we'll get our meetings on the books here soon so that we can hash out what it is you want the students to do, is that I would really encourage you, when you get the report, to look at it and say, what do we think our community can do in the first, say, what are the first maybe 5 things that you could do that begin with something really easy to do, out to something that would be not impossible, that's a waste of time, but something that you think, we might be able to get there if we push or pull or cajole or, really work with the right people. And you're going to know that way better than we are, because you know your community way better than we do. And I think that's pretty exciting that we're going to get to do that together.
So Peter, I know you have Chris on the line. When I first joined this group, which was, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, one of the people I interviewed was Secretary of DEP, Secretary Shirley.
Shirley.
And she had recommended that one of the things we should look at is the Pennsylvania Climate Action Plan. So when you say, what could we do? The question is, I felt at that time it was a big leap, but having this resource, it doesn't feel so big anymore. You tell me, is it a big leap from this group to kind of take its work and apply it to the Pennsylvania Climate Action Plan?
No, actually, I think that shows a level of attention that you've already paid that is really good for your community, because you're understanding what the priorities are within, and I don't know if that was the comprehensive climate action plan or the priority climate action plan, but part of what the students can do, and I mean, I'll be there, you'll be there, what we can work on is trying to align where you think there is the most potential with how the comprehensive or priority climate action plans work, because when those alignments happen, you may have a better chance of say, well, we want to do X project. I'll just throw out an example. Even though Ellie said, wastewater doesn't have a whole lot in it from those emissions, it does impact your commercial electricity. So doing a solar or a microgrid, a solar and battery unit with a sewer plant, that can knock out a bunch of emissions, that creates resilience. There may be public funding available for that. And that kind of planning on a project like that also lines up really well with a priority climate action plan. Does that make sense?
It does. And, I like the forest and land use. I know your team probably doesn't know, but we're planning on launching a 50,000 tree canopy challenge to put 50,000 trees replanted.
I mean, that's
because
awesome.
we have lost about 400 to 500 acres of trees over the last 10 years. So it's not a small number. Even though we look so good because of the park, it's the residential communities that have lost it. So to me, those are the kind of scenarios that would be really interesting to run, with you on the climate action plan, up to and including, I think, what it would look like for, say, our municipal systems to have more resilient planning for, EV, renewables, solar. So sure.
So just on that point there about sort of nature-based solutions and afforestation, reforestation, dealing with, the fact that housing developments can actually do way more to add to your greenhouse gas emissions than just about anything else. Kelly did an ecosystem services assessment for Lower Macungie on the other side of the state. And so there are ways too that we already have experience with, and to look at how you could quantify the way that you could avoid more emissions, that you may be able to sink more carbon in certain places. But I mean, we're getting very deep into the weeds already just from this. And, I think that's great because like we're in, I'm going to call it imagination land. I don't mean that in a sort of cartoonish way at all. You're effectively using your imagination. We're using our imaginations. I hope that Mackenzie is smiling because she thinks that this is exciting, but I see her smiling. I see Ellie smiling. I mean, this is very exciting to be able to work on. Having a partner who's informed and willing to, incite their own creativity so that we can help you is that's one of the, that is a way to create a successful project for everybody. Yeah. So I hope we do that.
Again, I'm very curious as to how McCandless compares to other communities.
So
I think that's a very, very valid thing to understand where we are if we're, at the bottom end or at the top end, and that just gives us a basis to be able to measure where we are and such.
So what I think we ought to do is we'll put in the hopper for one of the deliverables. For now, we'll just say uh, let's consider having the students do some case studies of comparable communities for you, so that you can have an idea of where you fit right now, give or take a little bit. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Awesome.
And we
Yeah, and I mean,
go ahead.
Here's Chris.
We have a
Go
list.
ahead,
So I've actually been spending a lot of time sending them over to Brandy. We have a list of communities that have already participated in the program over the past 6 years that may be. Some of them are definitely similar to you in terms of proximity, in terms of size. It still may not be an exact apples to apples comparison because we're talking about like greenhouse gas inventories from previous years, and there are a lot of factors that can alter those over time. But there are some completed ones that you could potentially look at as a rough comparable.
yeah, and we certainly have our repository of the ones that have been done the previous 3 years of LCAP under, since Penn State's been doing it. But yeah, so we can take a look at that. And I think that, like I said, so far, I think we see in yours what we would expect to see. There's nothing glaring at me that suggests that you guys have some sort of, big emissions culprit there to tackle. I think it's all very, very predictable things related to energy. And the good news about that, honestly, is that reducing energy related emissions can be a very compelling sell to your friends and neighbors in McCandless, because reducing the consumption means you're reducing the expenditure people have on those things. So everybody likes to save money, and if you save energy in the process, that's just an added win. So really focusing, I think, on energy efficiency is a great place to start. And it's voluntary. It's about saving something, not sacrificing something. So it has a lot of the good bones of early climate action steps to take. So, but yeah, what Peter said about having the students really dig in and do like a thorough case study for you with some comparable communities, we can definitely dig into that for the spring.
Yeah, and I feel like just I keep saying my final thought. So as important it is to do comparative analysis, I mean, to me, improvement is really what we're always after wherever we are, right? We want to kind of see the improvement in each of those directions. So even though I care deeply about the comparative analysis, I care more about, our situation of where we are and what the future could look like, and then how we could essentially make our plans surrounding the work we're doing on this committee support the kind of analytics and numbers, the measurements of what we could do to improve, even if we had, as you said, just modest gains annually over the next 10 to 20 years. What could those offsets start looking like for our community?
We also know that we want to be working toward platinum sustainability and toward Town USA.
Yep.
So it's more important to be working towards plans that will help us achieve those certifications as well. But we'll talk about all of that offline in the follow-up meetings.
So when do we get the report so we can all sort of play with it?
Yeah, you will have the report by the end of next week. I have to finish editing all the reports that the students are submitting and double checking that all the numbers have landed from ClearPath accurately. So we will be sending that over to you before winter break happens for Penn
That is
State.
great. Well, Ellie, Isabel, and Mackenzie, we applaud you. Your work was spectacular. It was you educated us, and we loved it. So thank you. It was a great presentation, and the leadership of Brandy and Kelly and Peter and Chris making this possible for us. We really appreciate this, and we want to continue to be a good partner with you. So
you are great partners. Thank you for everything you're doing. The experience you are giving students by letting them help you with this work is remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. We appreciate it.
See a lot more of you in the new year.
Good, good. We'll look forward to it. Thank you for joining us.
Team, can we jump into my Zoom room here for just a couple minutes? I'll send it in an email.
Okay.
Chris, you can come too.
Take care, everyone.
All right,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Okay. We're back on. How about that, huh?
Couple of comments. When you get into measurement of things, like with satellites, we started measuring temperature and what it does, around 1979, which is when we were coming out of the period that we were calling the coming new ice age in the 70s. And similar things like that. You have to be very careful when you look at graphs and things of where they chose to start from, because you can greatly bias what you're looking at by those things. So just be aware of those things when you look at some of this data.
That's true of all data.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, but it's like people want to present data that fits their story.
Yeah.
And it's like with electric vehicles, BMW, when they studied their electric vehicles, you have to drive them for 60 to 80,000 miles until they're emitted less carbon dioxide than if it were a gasoline BMW. So there's pros and cons to everything to look at.
Okay, let's fly through the rest of the agenda, see if we can push on. So Ken, deer control?
Deer control, the suburban whitetail hunter had a very good November. We actually have harvested 65 deer at this time last year. The total was 60, so we still have the month of December and January to go. In the green space, which we have opened up to the general public, like by green space, I mean Ball Park, Vestal, Potter Park. There's been 4 deer reported harvested there. When we look at one of the ways that I'm thinking is the best way to measure how well we're progressing with the deer management, is that people report when they have an accident with the deer. And then we have a company that actually goes out and picks up the dead deer so they're not laying on the side of the road. And our numbers there, aren't improving. So we need to do more than just the archery program. And council is looking at some enhanced management things that are pretty well progressed, but they're not fully done at this point. So that's really, and then when we talk about putting native plants back in and everything, the reason all the native plants and things are gone is because of the deer. And we don't have any forest regeneration until we get that back. And just as a note from at my house with the bird feeder, with the weather that we've had, normally I would have to fill my bird feeder every day. If you go back 10, 15 years ago, and I'm to the point now where it's every 3 or 4 days, meaning the bird population has significantly declined because of the decline in the overall environment because of the excess deer.
Good, makes sense. Any questions for Ken?
Do we have numbers as to like how many deer we have just in McCandless?
That's really it's like if you talk with Janine Flegel, the wildlife biologist for the Game Commission on whitetail, that's something you can do, but it's really an irrelevant number. Because deer can move in. I mean, if you reduce all of them here, they can move in from Pine Township, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of if we removed all deer for 5 years and things recovered, we could then have 1,000 deer in McCandless and it would be fine. But right now, because of the devastation the deer have done, you can probably only hold, say, 500. So the actual number really isn't important. It's whether it's increasing or decreasing.
Okay. Are our neighboring townships doing anything to combat this?
Fox Chapel has been doing calls for a number of years. Ross is talking about doing it. The city has been doing it. some of the, like when you go north of here, there's more hunting pressure. So their control is more through hunting. We're very, when you have plans of houses, it's really hard to find a way to hunt in those areas. So it's each one, and then we also have North Park in there, and North Park is only is doing archery hunting and nothing more. And so you run into a lot of variables, and the actual number is actually somewhat irrelevant. It really depends on what the range is, what the environment is that the deer are in.
Okay, so sustainability, we just heard this. I think we ought to, not discuss what we just heard quite yet until we have a larger block of time to do that. But as I said, they'll deliver the report next week, and then I will upload that, and then we will be gold certified. So we are that close.
All right.
That's the last piece.
The fifth piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of work. Thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. Bernie, anything new on tree program?
I intentionally didn't do a report because
That's it. Fun.
yeah, because of the meeting, but I had reached out to Judy Bishop about who we use for the speaker series at the library. So she gave me the name of Katie Coleman. So I reached out to Katie, and Katie said she'd be delighted to work with us for the speaker series, up to and including hosting events there. So I don't know what all we have on the agenda, but that's what they usually do, was promote, they could host.
They do a very, very good job of publicizing it. Like when we did the deer program back during COVID, we had 250 spots on Zoom and we had all of them full.
Yeah, so I do think, she's on that March 5th date that I told her we wanted to do the first program.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have something already planned on that date, but she said there's a different room we could feasibly use. So I just asked her, what the volume size of that room, and I have not heard back. So I'll work it out with her on how that could work.
You can use them to publicize it, and then we can use Heritage Center or our office over here.
I had LaRoche actually scheduled for
Okay.
March 5th, and so that's why I don't know that we needed the location, but since
Mhm.
we're teaming back up with them, I was looking at their availability as well, but yeah.
But you don't need they don't expect you to use their facility.
No, not always. But I think it'd be nice after construction to kind of get back there again and start doing some programs out of there. That was, I think, the original thing.
We didn't ever really do them there.
Oh, really? All right. So we'll kind of work things through with her, and I know Jeff, whatever other speaker series speakers are planned, we can kind of coordinate with Katie now that and I'll start copying you guys on emails with her so you can see who she is. So I did get a meeting finally to meet with the staff of McCandless on January 8th at 8:30 a.m. So Jeff, I know will be inviting you.
Yeah.
I just got that yesterday. So, yeah, I, plan on putting together our agenda, which is really the entire year, any kind of, budget for
Mhm.
the annual plan. And then I know you sent the 175th agenda, and that's kind of my discontent is like, I would love to see the tree calendar integrated with their calendar, right? For all of those events, and then see them, the remarkable tree,
Mhm.
the speaker series, all the things planned, just kind of a nice little seamless thing. So hopefully that's what
Will
we.
Abby be at your meeting on the 8th?
Diane, I think is gonna join, invite her.
Yeah, good.
And she's inviting, I don't know, 5 or 6 staff members
Okay.
up to and including Public Works.
Okay.
Trying to get that meeting, so I'm happy that, and I think the disconnect with McCandless is thinking that, they wanted to wait until after the budget, after this, and my discontent with that is, no, we should have been included in all of those. We shouldn't be an afterthought. After all that work's done, then we'll put you in. It's like, no, that should have been integrated. So my hope in the future is that can whole calendar. I mean, the whole reason I went and developed a calendar by October was to be on their calendar. And so those are the things that didn't happen. So again, patience and new staff turnover, last 2 years have been that way. But I also said, I don't want to miss the March grant deadlines this year.
Right.
There's a lot of conservation grants, tree plant going to happen. So that's pretty much it. We had a meeting, Archie and I did, did some planning on kind of a whole host of details. So anyway, that's it.
Okay, good. Anything for Bernie? Any other questions? Okay, community outreach, Winterfest recap. What do you think?
They do have very strong thoughts.
Yeah, and Joanna too.
Right, I'm here too. Actually, Melinda, do you see a second name for me that popped up to try to sign in? I'm trying to switch computers because I'm having technology issues. So
It's funny while they're doing that is
but let's see.
in the beginning, I would have totally agreed with you that
No.
Melissa, trying to bring educational material seemed to be putting a square peg in a round hole. Like nobody really cared about it that much. And then the second half of it, after you left, then people started coming and talking to us.
That wasn't going to be what I was going to complain.
Okay. But I thought at the beginning, I'm thinking, yeah, we shouldn't even be doing this. It should just be kids' games or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's good to have both, but
Yeah.
the sound situation at our space for an hour and a
Yeah.
half of that time is absolutely
I miss that.
unworkable, I
Yeah.
would say. Being that close to a location where a concert is happening
Yeah.
and we can't hear, we have to yell. It is
Mhm.
very unideal.
Mhm.
I missed that.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And after that, it got much better. And before that, it was fine too. It was
Right.
about an hour of time where people were clustered around to watch the children who are very talented, but the speakers are very, very, very loud. And just with the placement of that happening right next to all these booths, that makes very little sense. So it would be fantastic if their placement could
Yeah.
relocate so that everybody can speak and interact and
Yeah.
not go deaf during it. But the children, we had so many kids, and I think Joe and I can speak to it more as well, but I think that the leaf activity is a fantastic one for
Yeah.
that space.
It really looks
It's
like
really
great.
fun to fill in a tree like that.
Yeah.
Really great to get everybody involved, give them an artistic outlet where they're also thinking about ways to help their community.
Yeah, it worked again.
But Nadia,
So
you
I
would
can
really
only
love.
speak to it because I'm holding currently, and you can't see it because my webcam's not working, but I brought a bunch of the really thoughtful leaves back so I could display them when I thought I was going to be there in person today. And so I can bring them to the next meeting and I can take a couple pictures of them. But there were some really well thought out leaves, and it was cool to see the kids. I felt like this year had a better grasp a little bit on things they could do, things that made sense. Where last year I felt like I was really having to coach a lot of them over what it even meant, what was the environment, how do you help anything like that. I felt like this year was a little bit better with that. And yeah, I totally agree with the concert next to us. Oh my gosh.
Nadia, do you have anything you'd like to share? You were there as well.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. A lot of kids definitely had fun. I saw some great ideas, some good drawings. I had some kid set up shop for like 10 minutes and just draw himself planting a garden and write all about it. It was very cute. Definitely agree about the concert. It was, yeah, very loud. But other than that, I mean, what I think Joanna said about the tables, like the order being switched a bit, because it felt like the informational thing was just kind of like put in the corner out of the way.
Ken, what about you? Any feedback from the time you were there?
No, I was basically playing with adults.
That's great.
And Jeff and I were trying to get people signed up
And you
and,
did a
and
good
chatting
job.
with them well, there was one young man that was, basically a forestry degree from Penn State, from a couple of years ago. So we chatted for a while and stuff, but it's, I was playing mostly with the adults.
That's
Did you
fantastic.
get them signed up?
Yeah, we did.
Great.
Yeah, and I also got him to, he's doing work with stormwater damage and stuff, so I suggested he get in contact with Jason to, look at some things, so
Well, how about me too, on the tree program?
he's working in stormwater, so,
Oh, is he?
yeah.
Okay.
How about the
Um, sorry?
How about the rain garden? He might be a good candidate to help out with some of the rain garden stuff.
We have his
The
information.
sign up list, he'll get invited to
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. Well, I just need to enter.
So how many total people signed up?
6 or something like that?
Yeah, it was like 6 or 8 or something.
Yeah.
You sent me a picture of it.
Yeah. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8.
Yeah, 8.
Eight.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let me go through these open initiatives pretty fast. They'll go fast. So, the November 15th, adopt a highway date for the EAC. We had 4 people. We picked up 9 bags. Bird Town PA update. So we are a bird town. We are the 96th bird town community. We have been accepted by the Audubon Society. They have accepted our resolution, our township resolution, and our application. We are coming in at green, which is what they want people to come in at. We could probably come in higher, but there'd be really no reason to do that. You come in initially.
Can't. The first year for everybody.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So we are coming in and, at this point, we are one thing away and we are, I'm going to share that screen. We are at this point, going to be, let's see, so share. Okay. We are going to, at council meeting, we are going to, how did I do? Screen sharing, it says.
Is that your screen?
No.
Which screen is that?
This
one. Huh? This one, ours. That's it.
Your screen sharing, is your screen sharing.
You want me to get rid of this and see if it pops?
Yeah, let's see if it comes back. Let's see.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. So this was Pine officially recognized as a bird town, and I showed you guys this before. They will come to a council meeting. They will give us our certificate. They will give us bird town signs to put different places wherever we deem them to go. We will stand there as an EAC and as a council, and they'll take this, and then the Tribune Review or the local Trib will put it in the paper. So we're going to coordinate this thing probably for late February at a council meeting, and then we'll be recognized, and then that will go out, and that will be a formal announcement that we are a bird town.
What do we have to do to be with Bird Town?
So it's going to be a lot of the things that we already do, but they're going to help us with, recognizing opportunities to interface with schools. They're going to help us with speakers, because one of the things we did say is we want to have a tree speaker, we want to have a bee speaker, we want to have a bird town speaker. So the Audubon Society will help us, with a speaker series and also an invasive.
It basically, overall, when you join Bird Town, it has you follow a list of different activities. You get points for different ones that you do, but it's all about being a sustainable community who's based around conservation and education and communities. So really everything we are doing, like Jeff is saying. But the goal is to create, they say, a healthier, more sustainable environment for birds, wildlife, and people.
Reduce deer.
Well, that's likely part of it.
Yeah, so this was a big deal for John Schlind also. And he wants us to be Tree City USA, he wants us to be a bird town. I mean, he is supporting all this, supported this all the way. It was green lighted the whole way. So this will be a recognition, and I will work with everybody. But the one thing is that there will be an orientation session It's an hour-long call with the Audubon Society, and I just need to know if anybody wants to join that call. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Next is, I would like to discuss, and very briefly, an EAC dedicated website. So there, I'm going to show right now, this is Pine's website. So, you go on the Township of McCandless, you see the EAC and it has all of our names, and it pretty much ends there. There's a couple of links. Well, what they have is they have a Birdtown second page, and it talks about the program. What I would like to do is I'm going to eventually talk to John and Diane and John Bogarski about having there's Joanne, about having a web page that would be Birdtown, whatever, not about the program, but things that we're doing with Birdtown, how we're advancing our tree program, and then in general, other things that we're working on. So I would love to, if everybody thinks that is a good idea, pursue this other page for the EAC that would talk about the tree program, the Birdtown interface, and other projects we're working on.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to do when Mark was here as well.
Yeah.
We brought that up back in January, that we need a better presence. We need to be talking about our programs, the rain garden,
Right.
the roadside cleanup, everything, but we just didn't make it happen.
Yeah.
Any of the new members?
Possibly. We'll have to wait and
In
see.
Yes.
communication?
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
That was what Mark's main,
I know, that's why I'm asking, because we skipped over that on the agenda.
Back to it with the
Yeah.
number 11.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
So, what did I skip over? Achievement, what did I skip over?
Just
What
the new
happened to the new
discussion.
members?
Oh, well, yeah, because, well, new member discussion, very briefly, is that, and I was gonna wait until Nick with this, because I will wait with Nick
Okay,
with this.
this is a council issue.
Yeah, so
right.
this dedicated webpage, achievement announcements is sort of in the same thing, whereas we're going to announce the achievement of Birdtown, PA through the TRIB. I would imagine, I'm gonna talk to John Schwind again, we'll probably also announce the fact that we are certified gold, and truly certified gold, not just we used to be gold and, we're just gonna ride that. We're truly gold. So, there might be another announcement that goes into the TRIB that, and I don't know if it's a dual announcement or if it's a singular announcement. So I'll talk to him about that.
We had a communication plan, you would do one a month, right?
You're right, exactly.
The kickoff,
Exactly right.
because I saw the 175th is in March, so it's like, yeah, there's gotta be a way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Where's John when you need him?
Okay, so we're gonna vote on two announcements then. Okay, good.
In another vein of like that same thing, I have yet to like talk to John in detail about social media, but I kind of want to pursue that at least within this next month. I have some more free time coming up with like break and everything, so I have some opportunities to be able to talk to him about that. And I'd also really like to use that as a platform to push out all of these things, because I think that that's like a huge thing for us to be able to like not only involve young people, but involve people who are not necessarily paying attention to like the news and get a majority of like information from social media.
You're not reading the
So, right, who's not like going on the trip and reading like through every single piece of daily news. So I'd really like to like get that kicked off. So I'll
John
get that
McCarthy.
yeah.
Okay, good.
So I'll get that situated with him.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you'll piggyback off of these things that we're
Mhm.
doing in the general paper and use it and parlay,
Yes.
bad word, into social media.
Yeah, so just like the same type of things that we'd be doing with, like a press release, or, if we have a Winterfest event, like get some pictures with everybody together with the tree and like get that out on the social media, or like announce things so that we bring more awareness about events. And I'd really like to get that kicked off when it comes into the new year, ideally.
It's a great goal.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, then in the miscellaneous, I just sent over the 175th. There's really nothing else to say there. I mean, people see what's going on. We're fully, I don't know that I have much to say about that.
Yeah, it's a whole year of activities.
Yes.
And I just hope that we could integrate all of our activities, not just tree, but all of our stuff too, into that calendar. Because it's a
Right.
pretty rigorous calendar that they've got planned, and I
Yep.
feel like we should be inserting, our speaker series dates, our, just the.
And we'll talk about that on the 8th, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Okay. All right, January McMill tip, do we have any suggestions for that? And the last one was great, by the way. It was
Oh, well, thank you.
very interesting.
Do you want January?
Yeah, I can take January and I'll do like some like New Year themed environmental tips if anybody has any ideas for like things that you want on there, or else I can just kind of brainstorm that and get those ideas out to you.
Yeah,
I can do that and just copy the whole group so we
Yeah.
can all have input in
Yeah.
it.
Of course.
You could do also just suggestion like New Year's resolutions, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
tell us
Oh, I like
an
that.
environmental resolution of like, use less power,
Yep.
save energy.
And in the McMail tip, so we had, Archie is doing a whole year of what I had requested, like, 150 words on trees each month. So what he and Julie are doing is he's written them all out for the whole year. In my calendar last month, I presented which topics they would be in. That will be embedded in each of them. So you can click to the link and they'll be doing kind of McCandless free YouTube videos on tree care. So,
The EAC has a YouTube account?
no, this would be more focused. Well, I don't know. This is where coordinating with John would make a difference. Do we have YouTube?
That would be more John. I'm not sure what he.
We do.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little behind on.
Yeah.
Yeah, had I coordinated in September, October, November with the township, we would have like figured this out more, but I mean, that's been on our planning calendar to do our McMail tips, so they'll be small
Yeah.
tips, So I think we're given what, do you know, I think it's 400 to 500 words a month. So what I had negotiated was like half being.
I'd like that to be like 200 words
So we already have that done.
for the New Year's resolutions. Yeah, 200 words. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good because I don't want to make it like too.
Talk to John about,
need to write-
what's,
Doesn't need to
Right.
be term paper.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, just like a little like resolution themed list.
yeah, like maybe,
Low hanging fruit.
Yes.
like maybe
yes.
recycle one thing they haven't
Yeah.
been doing, or,
Yeah.
Did you know that
Yeah.
the Christmas lights are recycled at the municipal building, that type of thing, or where?
and flags and flags.
Right.
I just saw the flags are recycled here.
Yeah, right, simple things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep it simple. Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. And then, so Nick, Bernie, to answer your question, our, all committee new member, acceptances or approvals were tabled because last Monday's meeting went so long. There were so many, residents that spoke. And the basic premise was, it was about signs, electronic signs.
That's.
So that is a hot point. And so it went on, and at about 9:10, they finally said, we're not gonna get to these until next Monday. So next Monday, the 15th, which is the last meeting of the year, the new members will be approved then.
So what happened to the sign vote?
Yeah.
The what?
The sign vote? Was there a vote on the sign?
Nick, you want to talk about that now?
I was actually on Zoom, and I don't know what ended up happening because I had to drop off. I still need to follow up on that myself, to be quite honest.
Well, what it is that,
So we don't.
so they wanted to put a sign,
I know the topic.
yeah, okay, so, but what McKinley's came back were alternatives to where they wanted to put the sign that would be the least impact to residents.
Oh.
Because you can't not permit them to have signs. You know, I mean, the Pennsylvania law is that, you know, they're allowed to have signs. Now, we can put restrictions around where the signs are and where, billboards and where,
Well, no, Mike DeWita worked on this for years. The answer is no, you don't have to.
well, I mean, so again, it's not in my scope. This is what I learned on Monday. So what they were trying to do is they were trying to reduce the impact to the residents and also the impact to drivers because it changes every 8 seconds. I'm not going to get all this stuff right. Every 8 seconds. And then also the impact of, you know, no vaping, no whatever type of thing. So nothing that is, you know, of that type of nature. Cigarettes, liquor, you know, different things like that. So what they did is they came up with, they thought was a good alternative. And people were still sort of talking about it and complaining about it and so forth and so on, and rightfully so.
So do you know?
And this was a hearing too, so like there was no vote made on it.
It wasn't even a vote. It was just
it was just a public hearing. So like to my understanding, what Jeff said is like you do have to allow these in the town somewhere based on how our zoning districts are. This was one of the more least offensive options. This company, I believe, initially wanted to put multiple of these in the town. And throughout months upon months of this process, we've been able to talk them down to like 1 or 2 spots and not a bunch. And I believe it's on McKnight Road.
Yeah, the 2 spots are, it's going to be McKnight Road South, like where the LA Fitness was. So it's going to be there. And then there's going to be one up where the Get-Go is up on the flats. There's a corner of Reichhold and 19, and that is actually municipal property, and there's actually like a little walkway there, and they're going to put a sign.
So the municipality, this isn't even privately owned property. This is going on municipal property.
I don't know. I mean, again, you're asking me. I mean, you'd have to go to the meeting.
Yeah.
You have to ask your.
You're right. I'm not involved.
counsel.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just yeah. I mean, but Mike DeWita, if you remember him, he was
My parents were wholly supportive of Mike DeWita.
Yeah, but that's what he did in his after, public service. He worked on this issue for a long time. And by the way, it is a beautification environmental issue. And that was kind of, I don't know if he's still working on it or not, but
Yeah.
has a whole organization.
They tried to lower the impact as much as possible. And I think at this point, you can't say no. You cannot just say no. They can't have them.
It's like with Marcellus drilling sites, they can't say no. They can just, by ordinances and zoning, they can put them where they're not going to do them.
Make it harder and make it more as beneficial to the town as we can.
Was it just like general opposition to the meeting, just general opposition to these signs?
No, absolutely.
And is it just like billboards, like electronic billboard signage?
Yes, they are 2 electronic billboard signs. And it goes, I mean, if you've ever been to a council meeting, it's more than general opposition. It's also making sure every detail has been tended to with regard to notification, dates, statutes, ordinances, Melinda, you know.
Yeah.
And so, so there was a lot of that.
Okay.
There was a lot of that.
So Mike did start a group called Scenic Pittsburgh. And I mean, the last thing I can see was a story done in February about it and studies about these electronic billboards from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So again, I don't know if as a committee we should be involved in this kind of stuff, but
But you can go to the council meeting and speak there.
really, they never seem to be at good times. But yeah, interesting.
We can put that on the agenda next time.
Call Mike DeWita. I mean, he's become an expert at this topic. I mean, looking at an article from February of this year in the Trib where he's speaking on the topic, and he's the executive director of Scenic Pittsburgh. And he's looked into all the legal issues and what communities and townships can do.
Yeah.
So,
Is there already one of those on McKnight Road? It's very distressing.
There's the big one is as big as it could possibly get is out at McCandless Crossing. That one at
Yeah.
McCandless Crossing is as large as I
That
can
is
get. These
gigantic.
two are much smaller than that.
Is that, who owns that? Is that municipal? Or-
No, it's
Privately owned.
privately owned.
But see, that's
They
why
wanted
the
to put one
idea,
right at Cumberland and McKnight that was much bigger.
There's that
that-
one.
That didn't happen.
is the municipality seeing this as a way to make money? Is that,
It's insignificant.
well, then why would they do it?
I'm pretty sure, to my understanding, we're required by state law to allow them somewhere in our town.
That's what was said at the meeting.
All right, but that would still be private property. You're not obligated as a public municipality to give them land to put
It's probably private property. I mean, I don't know the details. Again, this is.
Fitness is.
And if it's zoned to allow something like this, we can't deny them that specific usage. It's not fun. This is not something that any of us really want, but we are obliged.
There wasn't a council member who wanted this.
None of us do.
Yeah. Anything else, Nick?
That was the biggest thing going on this month, other than the wrapping up of the budget. This is usually a pretty slow month. I will say this might be the last meeting that I am at, because we will all have new committee assignments come the reorg meeting on January 5th. So.
And you will not be on this committee then?
It is likely that I am not. So we will have a
Good
new
question.
member. If it is one of the new council members elect, I have already met with them and I have hyped the EAC up as much as I could.
Question, did the
Yes.
your program get funded?
Yes. Yes, there is money in the budget for it.
Send me some detail on that.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so topics for next month's meeting, and I have the February McMail tip. I have, we will discuss the signs more, and maybe Bernie and I will talk about reaching out to Mike DeWita.
I'm doing it as we speak.
Okay.
So you want the signs on the agenda? You want signs on the agenda?
Well, if we can have a conversation about it. If we get,
Is that really part of our, not really,
we
can't
would only
really-
be educated, but, or maybe what I'm thinking of is the education comes before the meeting. Like, yes, they have to do this, and, I don't know that we have a part, and we have, I don't know if we have a dog in this race, but, we can learn about it.
For what?
Mhm.
For what, the signs?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
it's above our pay grade.
yeah, it might be. But we can learn about it, so I'm not sure, Melissa.
I mean, I think lake pollution, we used to have somebody on this committee who cared about it. And we don't have anyone anymore who's really the advocate for lake pollution.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if anyone here would want to take that on, but I.
Wait and see what numbers are
Yeah.
interested in.
We get-
and Really. Because we have people coming and we want them to be able to choose what they're interested in.
So we still don't know who they are?
We don't know who will accept, just because town council says they're fine. We still need to send out official communication and make sure they accept. right?
If they applied, we have to presume they wanted to do it.
Unless they interviewed with us and don't like us.
Oh, really?
You never know.
Yeah,
They've had other things come up.
Yeah, they can have a job offer somewhere else and
right, it's been a while. So, since we interviewed them, so and that's another thing we'll put on, introduction of new members.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we'll certainly have 2 new members. We hope it's the 2 that we have agreed to move forward on. And I'll also discuss a little bit further regional EAC reboot, which is put that on there because I'll have made contact with everybody and start to think about dates for that.
Are we hosting that? Did we decide on what that?
Yeah, look, we'll host that.
Okay.
I'll put that together.
Here or like
Probably in the spring, definitely.
okay.
Yeah,
Like outside.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Whenever it's a little bit,
that's where we did it before.
yep. First quarter. Any other topics for next week?
we might want to take time to discuss what we want for the LCAP topic, just as a group, present some of those options.
What's the LCAP?
The program that just presented to us as
Oh,
students
that was,
for the climate action plan. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine to share. Most of you weren't on the committee when I first started interviewing, a lot of folks about things we could do, and DEP Secretary Shirley, I asked her what the state could do to support, and she was the one who was guiding me to grant program initiative, which is kind of why I was appointed. But then she also mentioned this climate action plan that other municipalities do, and again, we had big fish to fry, but that was something she really thought it would be great if we could participate. And I think the state has some funding to support communities that kind of do those. So that group, I think that was on, is accustomed to doing them, especially because they had a staff member from DEP there. So I think, it's an exercise in, in the same way your sustainability plan, Bird Town, Tree City, these are guidance plans for what communities can do for kind of an improvement. And this is the state's work for what states would love to have municipalities do to comply.
Yeah, I'm hoping that when we get the report next week and I share it with everybody, that we can, there's some things that we can do, like you said, some things that are easy to do, some, 5 things, and we'll focus them as a group. We'll talk about that, and we'll focus them on things, to give us information in this area.
I would love, just as an agenda item on that topic, if you could take the stack of, say, 5 metrics that we're now going to participate in and see how many of them are actually the same. And by that, I mean, to be a bird town, you start green, but they're going to have these metrics.
That's part of what I was thinking the students could start doing for us, because.
But I'm saying, so there's Bird Town, there's the sustainability plan. Is this what you're talking about? Is stacking all of them?
That way we have one climate action plan for the town of McCandless that aligns with all of the programs we're part of. But I'm putting this on the agenda for next month because it's 9:15 right now.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. But that's exactly what I would find that too.
Okay.
I think they align with that.
Good. You'll bring that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would. Yeah, we'll talk after.
Okay.
We're gonna have that meeting. So.
Okay.
I'd be happy to join that group too. I don't know when and how often you meet with the students, but
very often.
Yeah. But I would like to participate when that occurs. And hopefully they're just video calls.
Okay, we need to move on here. So, with that, anything else? Keeping it way too long. Then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for writing in. Linda, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Knowing you, Nick.
I know it's living in the 2025 folder, but I just hit it